Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Gives in the Bank recruiting podcast on BuckeyesScoop.com. It is the Thursday, September 3rd episode. We are halfway between, well, not, I guess we're a little more than halfway between weeks here with one football weekend in the books and another one coming up. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. But the first thing we're going to kind of go over today, Ohio State did land another class of 2022 commitment. Tight end Bennett Christian out of Georgia, a guy that they offered back in June, and things really moved very quickly with a Tennessee legacy. So they were able to get the commitment over the legacy school there. Bennett recently visited both Ohio State and Tennessee. Of course, he could not talk to coaches on those visits, or at least in person. I believe he did FaceTime with Kevin Wilson while he was in Columbus, but he's not able to see the facilities or anything like that, but he was able to kind of go around each campus and felt comfortable enough making a decision. Bill, I kind of wrote this in the impact column. We're going to sound like the boy who cried wolf here, but this is the year they're going to take two tight ends, right?
You never know. They're in the line. I mean, they're on the line for a couple good ones. I mean, I could see it because it sure looks like 2021, I really don't see that happening now. I don't see Jack Pugh or any of the other candidates sneaking in there for 2021. But 2022, they're on the line with a couple good ones, that's for sure.
Yeah, I'm getting more and more skeptical about them getting 2 and 21. To be honest, I have not. I know they're going to watch Jack Pugh throughout the year. I have not been given any indication that they're close there.
No, me neither.
So it looks like, and with the uncertainty right now with the scholarship situation, really with are they playing in October, November, January, March, and kind of when that's all going to shake out, I think they're going to be cautious. And I think if they can trim the fat somewhere, it's probably on tight end where they think they can get away with not taking two. And look, if they don't play this fall, Jeremy Ruckert can't go pro, I don't think. So yeah, that may be the right route now with kind of realizing you're probably going to have Jeremy Ruckert in 2021. So that's an interesting wrinkle to all this too. But yeah, I think they're going to take 2 and 22. I kind of joked. I said they've taken 3 they took 3 in the 2016 class, so maybe they'll take 3 next year if they have to. But so yeah, decent start here. I don't know how much you've watched Bennett Christian on tape. I've watched the film. I haven't actually seen him in person. Reminds me of kind of Luke Farrell. You're going to get a big-bodied guy. Reliable pass catcher, really good blocker, not a dynamic receiving threat. That's kind of what I saw. Anything to add there on what Ohio State's getting there with Bennett Christian?
Yeah, it's funny you say Luke Farrell. I was kind of thinking, hopefully, Nick Vannett. And I know that might be a reach a little bit for Bennett to be that type of receiver, but like you say, big body type. Maybe, probably fits well with the guys they have on the roster right now, other than Jeremy Ruckert. I don't think he's that kind of receiving threat. And pulling him from Tennessee, I mean, you could see in the end that it was probably going to be Ohio State, but boy, leading up to that, I didn't think they would be able to pull him away from the Vols. And that's a great recruiting job there to get him. And like I said, I feel really strongly, and we've both felt this way in the past, that there will be another tight end to go with Bennett Christian. I don't think he'll be the only one in that class, but, we've said that before too. And
third time's going to be a charm here, Bill.
Yeah, dead wrong.
Third time's going to be a charm.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens. I mean, I think he's an interesting prospect. Like I said, Luke Farrell, I think, is probably a better comparison than my Nick Vannett comparison, to be honest with you. So we'll see how it turns out. Long way to go in that class, that's for sure.
Yeah, and there's going to be some interesting guys in Ohio, I think. Elijah Brown.
Absolutely.
Ryan Miller. I mean, and these are
yeah.
I think these are guys that would complement him well, because I think those guys are kind of receiver flex guys. And so you kind of would have one of each there. But obviously they're going to chase some other guys nationally. But so that could be interesting. That could be a position where you find room for an Ohio guy potentially.
Well, when you mention Ryan Miller, I mean, if people, I know they don't watch junior tight end film very much, but if you get a chance, go see Ryan Miller. His huddle film, he makes some amazing catches. I mean, that kid has got dynamite hands. He's got a frame that's going to fill out. But just to watch his huddle film, I mean, he really does. I mean, the hands, the catch radius is amazing. And he can go down and get it. He goes up and over people, one-hand catches. So Ryan Miller's a guy I really like a lot. So he was the guy that I really had targeted this year, that I wanted to see him, at the summer camps. That did not happen. And hopefully this fall I can get out and see him, because I think he's got a lot of talent.
Yeah, definitely. It'll be, they've got a lot of time now. They got one. I think they can kind of take their time and evaluate some of the Ohio guys now and figure out what they're doing. But, it'll be fun to watch here as we start to see some game film make its way to huddle and see how college coaches respond to that. We were on the road this past weekend. You saw Brennan Vernon. I know everyone's very high on Brennan Vernon, but I know you've been talking about Brennan for a long time. What did you see out of Brennan? Anything that, validated him for you, or any questions that came out of it, or kind of what, probably since you probably haven't seen him in about a year. I mean, what did you think there on from last Friday night?
Yeah, I had an interesting conversation with Kirk Barton about this, because I felt like he impacted the game. He caused a fumble. He had a pressure that caused an interception. They really couldn't run at him. And, he had pretty good pressure throughout the game. I thought he impacted the game. I didn't think he dominated the game. And I kind of thought he got tired in this game. And Kirk and I talked about this, and I kind of on one of the podcasts. And, I kind of asked him his thoughts on that. And he's like, look, you lost 3 scrimmages. You lost a lot of padded practices. You didn't have the summer conditioning you normally have. So rather than cracking the kid for maybe being out of shape or not working hard, he said, you got to look at that totally different. And I thought that was a great, great point by Kirk, because I thought Brennan was much better in the first half. And then I just thought he wore down. And when Kirk explained it that way, I thought it was very acceptable. Not an excuse, but just this is the way it is. So, I mean, I love the kid. I think his talent is totally off the charts. And sometimes I think when we have such high expectations for guys and we go see them, sometimes our expectations, I think, are unrealistic. And I think I kind of had to keep slapping myself upside the head and tell myself that he is a 15-year-old sophomore. And so, Brennan's, he's going to be fine. He's going to be if he doesn't get hurt, he's going to be a great college player and probably play a long time in the NFL. I mean, the body type really reminds me of Joey Bosa. I saw Joey when he was a sophomore. I think, you hate to compare somebody to Joey Bosa, but Joey is a sophomore in high school. That's kind of what Brennan reminds me of. Now, Brennan's going to have to take a few more steps, big steps, to get to that level. But right now, as a sophomore starter who just played the first game of his sophomore year, I mean, I think he's a no-brainer as a high 4-star and a kid that's probably going to be a 5-star kid someday. So no complaint from me at all, other than, didn't seem to be in the greatest shape. And when Kirk pointed out why, it made a ton of sense to me.
Yeah, Tom Orr and I were down in Cincinnati at the Coleraine Lakota West game, and we had a similar conversation, not so much about a specific kid, but just in general. So we're watching Lakota West and Coleraine, and, those are, probably 2 of the top 10 teams in the state on paper in Division I.
Sure. And
it looked like a bunch of kids who hadn't played a lot of football the last few months. It was 10-0. There were very few plays made. I mean, it was It was sloppy. There were penalties. There were fumbles. There were missed assignments. And those are two well-coached teams, great program. Came to the realization we are watching kids who probably are where they would normally be at the beginning of August, but instead it's, the end of August. We are probably seeing guys. In reality, it's week 1, but it's probably really more like the first or second week of training camp. I mean,
or the first
just,
scrimmage.
It just weren't. Guys looked tired.
Yeah,
it just didn't look cohesive at all. And I think so. The fact that you're saying that about what you saw, I think it's a statewide thing. I think everyone's going through that right now. And I'm hoping here by week 3 or 4 that everyone's hit their stride.
I thought the same thing too. It kind of looked like the first scrimmage week. It kind of looked like that. Although, I thought the quality of play in Menor and Medina was really good. Those are going to be 2 playoff teams, both of them. And, weren't a lot of turnovers, weren't a lot of penalties, but I thought guys wore down. And it was a cool night. It was a rainy night. So it's not like it was a 90-degree evening. So I just thought almost like first scrimmage week. So, but, the quality play was good. Drew Aller was really good. Drew got hurt before the half, only played a half, but, he had thrown for almost 150 yards and 3 touchdowns and a half against Menor. And if he stays in that game, then that game was going to end up 44-43, whoever had the ball last. Once he went out, his team never scored again. And a 20-19 deficit turned into a 37-19 deficit. But Drew was the real deal. I was very impressed with him. Then very impressed with Brennan. So, I think we had those 2 guys targeted, and I think they – I put film up on, Buckeye Scoop, and I think both kids lived up to expectations. Was really sorry to see Drew go out of that game because I think it was set for one of those, fantastic finishes.
Yeah. Yeah, I was unfortunate. I did see you, I don't know if it's on Twitter or the message board post that Drew unfortunately had to leave the game. So hopefully everything's okay there. I haven't seen an update. Hopefully, that's a guy who I think has a lot to gain this fall in terms of his
definitely.
list. So hopefully
definitely
good there.
Yep.
Well, we'll be back on the road here this weekend. You and I will be in Northeast Ohio. I'm going to see Ben Chrisman on Friday night. You are going to see who?
Mike Hall. Look forward to seeing Big Mike. Another guy that I expect a big leap out of. Really good last year. He also had a really good off season. The flexibility, losing a little bit of body fat. So I'm really anxious to see Mike in action. I know you're going to see Ben Chrisman, and I saw Ben last year, and I thought he was good. Again, I didn't think he dominated, but I thought he was really good. So this will be a good chance for us to kind of see both of these guys, both these Ohio State commits, and see where they are in relation to where they were last year.
Yeah, I caught Big Mike on a really good night last year. He was phenomenal. Immediately came back from that game thinking he was a top 100 player nationally. So I'll be very curious to kind of hear your reports from the game and kind of see how he's doing. I think he's a guy who really, I think the race for number 2 in Ohio in 2021 is getting very interesting. I think he's a guy who's definitely in that mix. So I'll be interested to see that with Chrisman, the same thing. Now I haven't seen Ben in quite a while, so I'm actually really looking forward to seeing Ben. I loved what I saw out of him the last time. It's been a while. I mean, it's probably been over 12 months. So it's been quite a while. And I've always liked the toughness he plays with. I think he's a right tackle. I mean, maybe he's a guard. Just get your 5 best on the field that way. Type of guy who can kick inside. But I think he's a major talent. So I'm looking forward to seeing him again. I'm gonna check out a game on Saturday afternoon, Kirtland and Shaker Heights. Kirtland has a 2022 receiver named Gage Sullivan, who we saw in the state championship game for Kirtland last year. and he was the MVP of that game, had a great game. I think he had 2 touchdowns, played both ways. So he's an interesting guy for me. I don't, is he an Ohio State, Michigan guy, Notre Dame guy? I don't know that yet. He's definitely a guy though. So I think he's a D1 guy, and get another look at him. And then you and I, hopefully will be able to take in St. Ed's and Hoban, and that's going to be, everything's kind of watered down this year because everyone's going to get in the playoffs, but that's a heck of a matchup. A lot of talent on the field, and Ohio State should be looking at a few guys in that one as well, with Darrell Peterson and Trey Bixby. That could be an interesting game for Ohio State. I'm sure they'll have some people watching that one, checking out the film on that. What are you looking forward to, I guess, about that game, and just the guys you're looking forward to watching in that one?
Yeah, I think the world of Trey Bixby, and I think I saw him twice, I think last year, maybe 3 times. And I know we were at the same game. Were we in Cincinnati when we saw him?
Yeah, Winton Woods.
Together? Yeah, right. And he was good every time I saw him. I mean, he's so consistent, does a lot of things well, could probably kick inside and play tackle depending where his body takes him, or be like a strong side D end. The motor's high, fundamentally sound, which is what you expect for a kid playing at St. Ed's. And, he's committed to Minnesota. And, we have to see what would happen should Ohio State decide to move on him, because the kid did grow up in Minnesota. He was raised there, fan of the Gophers and all that. So that would be interesting to see if Ohio State would decide to make a move on him, how receptive, he would be. And then on the Hoban side, the defensive end, Darrell Peterson, both of us really like him a lot. Darrell's committed to Wisconsin. It's probably a great program for him to get into and develop in. But, Ohio State, I know they know about him. I think he's down the board. And I think it would take some of the other D linemen telling him no, before he would get a possible offer. But, they've jumped on some Ohio guys late in the fall in the past. And I think Darrell kind of fits the mold of what they want. So we'll keep an eye on him. And then A.J. Kirk, who did not play last year and has kind of dropped off the face of the map in terms of recruiting. A.J. has resurfaced at Hoban, had a big game last week with a couple of punt returns. They're playing him on offense. So I'm really looking forward to seeing A.J. and just to kind of compare where he was 2 years ago when we were all pretty high on him. So lots to like in that game. 2 great programs, great coaches, Tom Lombardo and Tim Terrell. So it'll be a fun one to watch as well as a good one for our jobs.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing Bixby and Peterson again. We have Bixby in the top 10 in the state, pretty comfortably in there. He's like, gosh, we had him pretty high. He might be top 5.
He's really good.
Yeah. That'll be interesting to see. Certainly Ohio State is going to, if they like him, they're going to offer him. The Minnesota thing's not going to deter them. But, we'll see what happens there. I think Peterson's the interesting one in the immediate future, just because, yes, there are right now it's JT, it's Taiwan Malone, Justice Boone. Those are the 3. But
right.
As this keeps coming to light that, they might not get visits at all, that really is going to hurt them with Justice Boone. And if you remove Justice Boone from the equation, is Ohio State willing to just roll the dice on the other 2 guys and say, wait till February and see if they can get one or both of them? I don't know that they'd be willing to do that. I mean, that would be, that'd be ballsy. I know that, just kind of,
yeah. Another thing is that Darrell would be, that pure defensive end speed rusher type where, they really don't have one like that in this class. They got a lot of they're going to have a lot of tackles they're chasing. And so we'll see. JT combo guy, could play anywhere, kind of a Cam Hayward type. But Darrell would be that, pass rushing specialist off the edge. So that could play in his factor as well, that he would not be a duplication of what they have right now.
Yeah. And if, like I said, if Justice, if Justice Boone gives them any indication of like, look, I'm not going to be able to visit, and I think I'm just going to stick with Florida. If that indication is given to Ohio State, then I think you at least have to look into opening up the communication lines with Daryl Peterson just to kind of, have something in play. Because right now I think Justice Boone is kind of in play just to make sure they don't get caught napping on the other two and they lose those two. And now, it's February. We only have, 3 defensive linemen.
Right.
So I think, if Justice Boone becomes less likely, and I'm told he's pretty interested. I talked to the kid too about a week or two ago, and he seems pretty interested. But if that just looks like it's just not going to be able to come together, especially due to the lack of visits, I think Daryl Peterson has to get a look. But I'm sure they're going to, like I said, I'm sure those guys are going to watch the game film of that one, and they're definitely going to look at those guys and kind of make their calls. Well, that's going to probably wrap it up. I think we got through what we wanted to get through. We're going to have 4 guys on the road this weekend covering games. So we'll have content all weekend. And, of course, there's the ongoing clown show, for lack of a better term, with the Big Ten right now in terms of if they're playing football in October, November, December, January, or next September. I don't know yet. But so we'll be staying on top of that as well. And so hope check our stuff out on BuckeyeScoop.com. And thanks again for listening.